In today's tutorial, we're going to be doing very nice product photography, and I'm going to be using basic equipment that I have. Number one of them is my Speedlight, my Godos TT685 Speedlight, which is really a good one. And why I'm using this is because I know most photographers would have a Speedlight. Then I'm also going to be using my DSLR camera. The reason why I'm using this is because this is what I have. So you can actually use whatever camera you have, but still going to get the same result. So the objective of today's tutorial is to introduce you to product photography and, doing it with basic tools that you have. And this course is going to be divided into some segment because I don't want it to be too long and I still want to pass right information. The reason why you should pay attention to product photography today is because the e-commerce space is actually rising and a lot of businesses are bringing their products online, and they need nice and good looking products photography in order to showcase their brand. Yeah, so we have this light set up and we'll position it to face the subject. The first thing you want to do is to make sure the light you have, the bigger light, is not interfering with your continuous light. So to do that, I'm going to turn off my trigger and take a first test shot. So now we see that we have some interference. So I'm going to adjust my settings. I'm changing my shutter speed to 1/250 and my ISO to 100. Okay, so let's take a test shot. Okay, so this is good. This shows that we're not having any interference because the scene is actually black, which is a good one. So now I'm going to turn on my Speedlight and do a test shot. So as you can see, it's quite overexposed. That means there is a lot of light, which is really a good one. That means I'm going to have to control some things. It's either I work on my light, I reduce the lights by some stops, or I control my camera. But as my camera is now, my setting is at 1/250 f9, aperture f9, and ISO of 100, which for now I am okay with. So I'm gonna go on and adjust my lights. It's at 1/4, so I'll take it back to 1/8 and let's see how that looks. So I have more light falling on my subject. This is the second test shot, and you can see how visible the shadow is. So the next thing I'm going to introduce is to diffuse the light. Okay, so I've been able to actually cover the other part, which is here, and I use clip for that because like I told you, this is using whatever you have. So if you don't have this kind of material, you can get something, a white soft fabric that can help diffuse light. Okay, so now let's take another test shot and see how it looks. Cool. Okay, so as you can see, I have good light moving around, but now the next thing to do is to work on the overexposed part, which unfortunately is the green top of the subject, which is quite important to me. What we need to do is to achieve that. Now we still need to work on the light, which is controlling the light. So now I'm going to move my light one step backward to the side and take another test shot and see how it looks. Cool. So what you need to understand is that you need to, try different options until you get what works. So it's not like, okay, every product you must just set this, and that. You need to experiment with your light, look at what direction gives the better result, And then once you establish the better position for your light and your camera, then it becomes easy for you to start doing your photograph. But this is the real deal. So now that we've been able to block the overexposed part of our set, then let's now take the first real test shot and see how it looks. Cool. Now, if you look at it, you'll see that we have, good image right now, but I want to create a little separation between the foreground and the background, and it's just by moving my subject closer to the front and a little bit spaced backwards, and, just somewhere around there. And I'm gonna take another test shot and let's see how it looks. So now this is better. This is really good. If you can see, this is really, really good. However, I'm having some issues on how the light falls on, the floor. Cool. Just a little bit of adjustment. And let's see. Cool. That's it. All right. So we've been able to achieve our preferred set. Then we now need to begin to analyze the picture and make sure the white balance is correct and so on and so forth. So because I'm using a flash, light, and because of the camera I use, which actually handles white balance correctly and very well. So I'm just going to make sure that my white balance is set to flash. If I set it to auto, let's see how it's going to handle it. So this is auto. From auto, we see that it's white is white, but I still feel that there is a little tint of blue, which is, something you can actually ignore. However, for me, I wouldn't do that because I'm much more particular about my white balance, Then let's try and change it to, say, this one, incandescent, then and take a shot. Then you see that it's bluish, which is not what you're looking for. So white balance is very, very important. Fluorescent, we are not using fluorescent, so it can be fluorescent. Then let's change it to flash, and this is the right white balance because we're using a speedlight, which is actually a flashlight. So this is my correct white balance, and I'm okay with this, you see. Okay, so now we want to start taking our shoot and see what result we get. So let's get to it. So before I go on to that, I just want to run my settings with you. My shutter speed is at 1/250 of a second, and my aperture is at f9. With f9, I'll be able to put every details on the product in focus, which for me is important because of the nature of the product. I'll be able to put all the details in focus. If you want a shallow depth of field, you want some of the details not to be in focus, then you can use bigger aperture like f1.8, f2.8, and so on and so forth. So then my ISO is at 200. I keep it at 200 just to increase the sensitivity of my camera to light, and that is it. And if you see it, you see that this is actually, a good one. So I'm going to start with this then. I'm going to work on the brightness and all that, make sure everything is fine, and so that we don't spend a lot of time in post. That is really important. So let's take our first shot. Cool. Right. So this is our first shot. If you see it very well, you see that we have good details now. Now you see that lighting is very, very, very important because when you get your lighting set up correctly, you are able to do lots of things, and that is the most important aspect of product photography and any style of photography. Once your lighting is correct, you are 80%, on the way, which is really good. Okay, so now that we've gotten our lighting set up correctly, we're not going to move anything again for now. We're just going to work on the product and begin to see how creative we can be. When photographing products, you have to consider three things. You have to look at the dynamics of the product and try to create a 3D modeling for the product. So we talk about the front view, the side view, and the back view. Let's get to it. All right. Cool. Now this is good. This is good. Now you see that with whatever lights you have, you can actually achieve good results, and that's the most important thing. That is the objective. You see all the details are, in focus, and you see we have, good view of this. So this is cool. Now for the side view, I'm just going to bend it a bit, twist it a bit so that I have, still have the product name and the side view, Great, great, great. So that's cool. The light is traveling from the top, and you see it's moving down from the top, and it's coming, it's becoming softer and smaller, affecting the lower part, which, okay. So let's take the back view. Yeah. Okay, so I have all the details in focus, So that is just that, and I hope you actually learn 1 or 2 things from today's tutorial. And then the next tutorial, we're going to be doing a more dramatic and creative, product photography. So thank you very much, and see you next week. Bye for now.